Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minutes of the Phantasm. This is the podcast where we hammer in facts about each minute of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I just realized that, I don't have an intro, and then that's what I came out with. So I hope it's worked. I hope it was as good for you as it was for me. I'm one of the hosts, Niall McGann.
Hi, I'm your other host, John Parker, and because I was relying on Niall for this one, I haven't written anything yet. God damn you let me down.
And now you know what it's like doing this kind of stuff live.
But yeah. Joining us again from just the other day, it's Courtney and Simon.
Good to be here.
Yeah. We're here today to talk about specifically minute 14 of Mask of the Phantasm, which is, it opens with a scrambled squad car, and it ends a minute later with a wall-crawling Wayne. As John just reminded me before we started recording,
Is anyone else but Peter Parker? You're still in my get.
But yeah, as John just reminded me before we pressed record there, we left out a minor part of the last minutes in that we didn't talk about the fact that the truck rams the cop car and there's an extended sequence of it scraping along the side.
Oh yeah, I almost did, and then because I was saying about stunts and the risks and all that, and then I never actually spoke about the point I was trying to make.
Well, you know what? That's how these things go.
Yeah.
We deviate from our notes, and that's fine. We go where the conversation takes us, and we're going to miss certain
professional
things.
deviants.
Yes.
Well, I mean that's on my CV. Yeah.
But I know you guys know a thing or two about novelizations, don't you? And novelizations.
Yeah.
A little bit of experience.
Yeah, because I know that in the specifically in the novelization, they do a little bit of deviation themselves. In that, in the previous minute, Harvey Bullock went Jonesy there, indicating that his co-driver is a guy called Jonesy. But in the novelization, they've changed it to Officer Raymond T. O'Neill, which is
Why?
I guess it's a little nod to Denny O'Neill because it's like, but it's doing
So
that.
Jonesy is a nod to the cat from Alien.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Maybe Chuck Jones, Warner Brothers animation.
No.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it's just the most generic kind of old-fashioned name, though. Jonesy.
Yeah.
But I love what they've done with it because they've done the classic novelization thing where they give you a whole page about the backstory for Raymond T. O'Neill, about how he's a hard-working cop who's just looking forward to getting home to his wife, but she's made broccoli again for dinner tonight, and he's just like, oh Christ! What? And then his big beef is that he's been stuck with this rookie who, on the first day on the job, Harvey Bullock, who apparently is an obnoxious, coffee swiggling, burping, farting, arrogant asshole.
Wait, he's like that on his first day?
Yeah.
Oh, no. See, on your first day in a job, you pretend to be like an upstanding citizen, right?
Yeah. But I guess maybe that's the thing. The thing about Bullock, damn it, is that he's a rogue, loose cannon asshole. He doesn't care about etiquette, about the way he treats people. But damn it if he's not a good detective. He's the best one we got in the force, John.
Oh
God.
Yeah.
He's a
Now,
loose
my
cannon.
favorite bit of my favorite bit of really pointless padding novelization was when I did a review for Mortal Kombat.
Oh my God, there's a
1990s.
novelization.
Yes, there is. I don't know if the episode is still live on the internet, but do you know how in the movie there's that character that's inserted that's the friend of Johnny Cage who gets killed by Goro?
Yep.
In the novelization, he gets his own subplot. It's almost like he's the actual hero of the book and not Liu Kang.
Amazing.
It's wild.
Well,
I love it when they do stuff like that because they've obviously been given freedom. Like, just write something. You're doing a novelization. We're not going to interfere. Do what you want.
I mean, the classic one we had was during Batman Forever, where it was just like the guy going, "I'm going to fix this." Like, I will fix your movie for you through this novelization by just doing whatever the hell I want.
Yes.
Chase Meridian's thoughts were mostly just, I can't believe I just said that. That's so ridiculous. I'm such an idiot.
I like the way that's basically, the mind of us, the viewer, watching her going, what the hell is she doing?
Wasn't that Peter David or was that Batman?
No, it's Peter David, because then it was Michael Jan Friedman did Batman and Robin, because we had him on last year.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
In this minute, I think there is a bit of like a butthole puckering moment. You always want that in your action sequence. Like, "Ugh." So yeah, when Batman's holding to the front of the hood of the truck, and then he's getting closer and closer to the wall, that's good. It's actually very effective. Even though I knew it was coming, it's like, ooh.
That was good.
Yeah.
It's very, this whole sequence, it's weird because it starts off very Terminator to me.
Oh, yeah.
And then it flips the Raiders of the Lost Ark midway through.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, because even coming up to the tunnel, that reminds me. Well, the thing is called like the Second Avenue Tunnel. It's like this iconic tunnel that's in Terminator.
Yes.
It's in like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2.
I was going to say, it's
Future,
Back to the
yeah.
Future because that's the one I think of.
Yeah, I think they commonly refer to it as like the most famous tunnel that no one in America recognizes, or the most recognizable tunnel that no one knows, or something in America.
And I believe it was also used in Batman 66 as well, because it's near the entrance of the Batcave, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's near there.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, all the iconic chase in Terminator doing that tunnel. It's like I was kind of hoping to make the tiles on the roof a little bit whiter and a little bit shinier to be like, oh, so it's definitely that's what you're going for. But it could be that like it's just a tunnel, man. They just wanted to put a tunnel in the thing.
Oh, the producers of the animated series love throwing in their film references in there. So yeah, it's probably deliberate.
Well, speaking of film in general, when when Bruce moves from the back and he climbs to the roof of the truck and he's walking along the top. I've always wondered, like, how hard would this be in real life? Because movies make it look easy to just casually walk along the roof of a moving vehicle. But I think it would be, like, incredibly hard for a mortal person, right?
You see it a lot in Knight Rider. It's doable, especially with their limited budget. You'd be surprised what these stuntmen can do.
I think the most notable version of it is, of course, in Teen Wolf, where that's Michael J. Fox and his, what do you call his, like, asshole friend? Like, Sykes or something?
Oh, God, it's been
I should know. I have a Teen Wolf outfit I wear there.
But yeah, that's part of their wackadoo teenage antics, is that they drive, like, a van around, and the other guy, like, stands on top of it and does, like, guitar solos and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but imagine in real life, right? Not in a movie. Can you just casually walk along the roof of a truck?
That's the reason I brought that up, is because they are clearly doing it for real, and they're going very slowly, and you can see the guy kind of looking a little panicked as he's doing it and stuff, because it's like, no, it's not. It's not easy to do it all.
Don't stand upright and hope the truck doesn't turn. Those are the two important things there.
Styles.
I guess it's about. I guess it's also about, like, wind speed and stuff like that. So, like, at lower levels, you're not going to get that much resistance. So it's moving is pretty easily. But when it's like probably going very fast and you got wind resistance, yeah, you're probably going to have some difficulties, but it's not impossible.
Plus,
people move on trains all the time.
Well, that's the thing. In the world of the movie as well, of course, as we talked about, Bruce, he must have gone away and trained. I know we haven't seen that in this version, but that's fine. Yeah. He must have gone away and trained, so he's a martial arts expert. He's all about balance, right?
Was there ever any... I know Ra's al Ghul is in the animated series. Is that whole backstory and connection there, is that in the cartoon, or was that just Batman Begins?
No, it's Batman Begins sort of adapted that. Yeah, they made it into, like... They kind of took the training thing. It's like, well, what if we made it? Because I think Henry Ducard was a thing in the comics, because it was Sam Hamm made it, and then they're like, what if we turn Henry Ducard into Ra's al Ghul?
I recall the animated series being more closer to the first Ra's al Ghul storyline, but it's been a long time. So
although, of course, that the Demon's Quest, that episode, they introduced Ra's al Ghul, written by Denny O'Neil, one of the few comic writers who hopped over onto the animated series and was like, all right, guys, I'll do this for you.
Yeah. So, they didn't want the comic book writers, if I remember correctly. Like, initially they were like, no, we don't want any of those guys writing out, critically acclaimed TV cartoon series. Because I think Because I think a lot of comic book writers were champing at the bit to get onto Batman. So yeah, it's a bit weird.
So with a lot of things that I imagine they probably were rubbing people up the wrong way with that attitude. Would probably be like, "What? You're shutting out the comic book people." And then again, Andrea Romano talked about the voice acting part was like they had like a set of people in the 80s who just like those were the voice actors, and like they were worked on. If you were on the Smurfs, it meant you were also on Transformers, which means you were also on this and this and this, and they're all people, great range of vocals. And then she was like, "No, I'm going to bring in." Instead of voice actors, instead of character actors, I'm bringing in actors with character, I believe. Yeah.
And the guy who did Cobra Commander and he's Starscream, like, that's another guy who was just in everything. In the 80s.
Yes!
It's like you still get it though. Like Jim, like they talk about like the guy who originally did Winnie the Pooh, and so it's like you couldn't have him do other voices because he's so. The original guy did Winnie the Pooh, because then Jim Cummings has done it since. But their emphasis is like the original guy is like you couldn't get him doing other voices because his voice is so distinctive. It is the Winnie the Pooh voice. But then Jim Cummings can do that voice and a billion other voices. So.
An insane amount of range. Like he doubled for Christopher Lloyd, I think it was, in the Anastasia movie, the Rasputin, the zombie Rasputin. And you cannot tell. And I think he was also the voice when they couldn't get Jeremy Irons back for Scar. And so he's singing as both of those actors. And you cannot tell.
Yeah, it's in the middle of Be Prepared. Because I had a kid around the house who was... I saw The Lion King a lot for a while. And there's an exact moment you can tell, once you know. Is this Jeremy Irons sings the beginning, and then when it goes into "Be prepared for the coup of the century," that's Jim Cummings, and you're like, "Oh, now that you know it's there, it's like you can't unsee it, you can't unhear it."
But it's so subtle. I think he's got amazing range.
See, that's awesome because I've seen it, quite a lot. And this is I didn't know that. I don't know a lot about the making of the movie or anything, so I never picked up on it. Now I'm going to watch it again, and you've ruined it.
That's so weird though, because it's like Jeremy Irons like I think he just had like a cold or something, and they're like, "Oh, mid recording." Yeah. It's like, surely you record a song all in one go? Was it just like he was literally dying in the middle of a take or something? Like, what the hell?
Or maybe they changed the lyrics.
That might be more logical explanation for it. Actually.
No, I had to drag him out halfway through.
Couldn't sing.
He should have done it with the cold like a pro.
Yes. My one note for this minute is this sequence telling us that Batman is more effective than law enforcement, or is he a problem for law enforcement?
Again, that's where Harvey Bullock's beef comes from, because he's like, I was there when he started, and like we could have caught that guy very easily. If I guess maybe we were distracted by the guy hanging off the door. That's why he got the jump on us to ram us into the side of the road.
Yeah, and 8 years later, we see what happens.
Well, I hate to be a fence sitter, but I think the movie is telling us it's kind of both. It's like, he is effective and he is good. He's going out there and getting it done. But at the same time, it's causing a problem for the police because the people actually trying... I know some of the police are corrupt in this city, but the people who actually try are kind of getting overshadowed by this guy as well.
Well, also they can't coordinate... Well, later he coordinates, of course, with Jim Gordon. I like that they have that aspect there where, okay, you're not officially police, but I am willing to cooperate with you because I think you have the right intentions. But at this stage, there is no coordination, so it's total chaos where you've got someone trying to stop a crime, and then you got the police descending onto the same scene trying to stop a crime in a different way.
Yeah,
I think even like Bruce acknowledges that it's something's missing. Like that's the whole thing. Is like he knows that he's got the skills or whatever but like there's just something that's not like he goes and like they didn't fear me, and it's like so you get this idea that Bruce is like. Yeah, but it's on the topic. It's like the fact of I think even like this is the movie he's saying like if Bruce had just continued wearing the hoodie and like the thing, his career would have been very short lived because they probably would have murderfied him like within a few nights.
Yeah.
But having that extra element at least initially before he gets the
you should have had a helmet.
Reputation.
Let's just start off with some basics here, Bruce. Like, no helmet, no knee pads. What are you doing?
Yeah, I would have like elbow pads, knee pads, special gloves, everything.
Bulletproof vest. Well, that doesn't exist yet.
Because he's basically just in a leotard this whole movie. And I was
Yeah,
really frustrated
movie.
watching, like, because I'm going through the show again to be like, oh, let's make notes on, see if relevant stuff comes up. And there's an episode, Day of the Samurai, where the whole threat is like this guy can do the Kill Bill move. Like, he can do this little maneuver that'll like kill you by the touch. And he does it to Bruce Wayne at the end. And then Bruce does a whole big and falls over and dies. And then it turns out he's perfectly fine. He's like, yes, I worked out where the spot is. And so I just put some padding on it. It's like, you should be wearing padding all the time, asshole. What the hell's the matter with you?
Yeah.
That's such an Adam West line.
Yeah.
But it really is just like, don't you see the benefits, Bruce, of just having that over your entire body every day as well?
You do have like maneuverability issues with too much padding, so it's a payoff. Which is like you get your modern day like the Batman bat arm, and you're looking at what Robert Pattinson's doing. He's not flipping around and jumping.
Well, that was there was a big debate within the Movies by Minutes group chat the other day where someone posited like who would win in a fight, the Mandalorian or Batman.
That is such a thing you argue about when you're 10.
Yeah. And I was surprised because everyone was into Mando, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he'd beat Batman
Well,
easily."
because
It's
he's
like,
got the
you have to-
jetpack. That
I
definitely
think they were
helps.
just like, "Oh, he has to subdue all these aliens, and he doesn't mind killing people." And then my point was like, Batman has fought a man made of moving clay. Like he's fought Darkseid and stuff. He's like he's fighting aliens too, and he doesn't have to kill them, yet he still takes them down. So that's kind of like the.
It's technically harder to not kill them.
Yeah, to take these people down without killing them. Although a lot of the times he basically is like he sort of leaves them for dead. I guess.
And there's a lot of Batmen who do kill as well.
Yeah. But my thing was like, well, if you're looking at like a lot of Batmans, it's like, well, maneuverability. Mando's got. He always looks as if he's having trouble moving in that armor. So Batman would just like slap a little explosive on his chest, and then watch him blow himself backwards, and then be like, done. You know. But,
Well, Bruce here, like in this movie, he could quite easily have killed this truck driver. Like, because he throws these, what do you call? Are they called like caltrops or something? They pop the tires.
Oh yeah.
And the whole truck flips, a bit Terminator 2 again.
yeah.
Which
Maybe it
that
was
guy
the-
could have died instantaneously right there.
That was actually right enough the incredibly tight production schedule they had. They could have been that the previous summer they had seen Terminator 2, and we're like, throw that in the movie, get it in as fast as you possibly can.
But I like this as well. Just before he does flip the truck, Bruce, he just goes hardcore, right? He hasn't got any gadgets or anything really this time. So he just whips out a damn hammer and starts smashing the windscreen.
I really like this idea that Bruce Wayne picked up everything he needed by one trip to the hardware store. It's like balaclava, hammer, rope, and then people are like, are you planning to like kidnap someone, Bruce? Like,
Yeah,
what is
imagine
this?
taking that to the till.
Like getting Alfred to do it for him. It's like, Alfred, go down to the hardware store.
I must have my tools.
But it really it was ironic enough though, because it really reminded me of like just going so low tech with it. Rainn Wilson in Super, where he just has like a wrench. This is like, Super directed by James Gunn, who's taken over freaking DC now. So we could be getting a return to Batman's hammer origins pretty soon.
It's his most used tool these days. Yeah, just bashing people with a hammer.
Shut up, crime. Just banging people.
Well, you also have James Gunn's also friends with Nathan Fillion, who will play
Captain Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
What if that was his name, though? Originally, it was like, well, they didn't go for the Captain Hammer routine, so I think I'm going to have to change it up. They're not afraid of hammers, I guess. Or maybe he's going to do a whole, like, MC Hammer tribute where instead of a glider, he could glide on parachute pants or something around from building to building.
The hammer is my penis.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne standing at the window and there's a car crash and all these hammers like fly out the back of a truck and he's like, I know what criminals feel.
It's like if someone was playing Can't Touch This in the distance. He's like, oh, it's all coming together.
I should wear big parachute pants and fly with them.
But no, I do love that. Although, again, in the novelization, they kind of ruin it a little bit because they say he just finds the hammer in the back of the lorry and he goes for it. But it's like,
I like that he brought it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I much prefer that he brought it because it's just like, what do I need?
Yeah.
A hammer and some things to make the tires blow up. And I'm good. Like that's all I ever need.
I like that he does have the caltrop things. Like one slightly snazzy thing, but a believable one he could maybe get hold of and keep in a little pouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a cop tool as well. So it's probably one of those things where he's just like, think like a cop. Ninja stars. Well, that's his martial arts, but like think of what can disable a car. Car tricks. Yep.
Yeah. It fits. It works for me.
I do like though maybe the idea that in that utility belt, we just haven't seen it. He just has a bat hammer. That he's like, oh no, I only pick it out in the most dire of circumstances.
The bat hammer.
It's just like a batarang, a stick.
My issue with the Punisher as a character, a gun-using superhero, those always felt weird to me because it's, I think, going back to what I was saying about, quoting Alan Moore, it just gets so grotesque when you bring in real-world weapons and real-world violence. I don't like this.
It is odd. Like, that's the thing. I understand what they're doing with that character, but you also get the wrong kind of people associating with it and getting very into it and not really getting the point.
Yes,
Punisher's one of those characters that was... Punisher was one of those characters that was specifically of its time. Like, same like Venom and Spawn and all those other characters, and they got popular enough that they kept going. And Punisher just... Marvel has struggled hard to try and find a way to keep Punisher relevant and interesting, and I just... Yeah, I don't think he's been interesting since maybe like the Garth Ennis reboot from like.
However,
2000s.
Venom, Himbo Venom.
Oh, Himbo
as Tom Hardy
in a full-on,
I love it.
A full-on LGBT relationship with a symbiote. It's like this is the movie. Like this is everything about Carnage in that last movie didn't care about, but him just squabbling and having a domestic with his symbiote. It's like this is it.
I'm so glad you're all on this this episode because when I speak to anyone else, I feel like the only person who likes Venom.
I think that's particularly the second one though. It's just like just turn it into a gay rom-com. Just you're there already. Just take out the action, and then much cheaper movie, and everyone will be much happier with it.
And that's what I love about Tom Hardy. He commits 1,000% to whatever he's doing.
Oh hell yeah!
Like, and it's not even if the movies that he does aren't always the best. He is always just crazy, and I love that he's like for someone who's like regarded, at least over here, I'm not sure worldwide, but he's regarded as like a sex symbol. Like to middle-aged women love him and think, and it's like, have you actually watched his movies? They're nuts.
He's these weird, deviant. Use that word again. This feral, strange, wild man.
Yeah. Although then they find out just really recently, although this will be, I guess, branching into the next minute, but like he's like a secret jiu-jitsu champion. Like he's been entering jiu-jitsu tournaments,
yes,
and just like beating the crap out of people. And apparently, it's like, he's amazing at it. He's like, but he's not been drawing it. I think he enters under like Thomas Hardy or something, and people don't realize that it's him. And then there's all these photos of him in the gi with his hands up, like people raising his hands because he's just won again. I was like, that's Tom Hardy, like just knocked the crap out of some guy and just didn't make a big thing out of it.
Same with Ed O'Neill of Married with Children and was a Modern Family fame. He's like a insanely well-regarded black belt martial artist.
Holy moly!
Yes, I'm not kidding.
I mean, they should have been a thing. They should have made a thing about that in Married with Children once. Like they should have just had Al like bust out some moves at some point or another. Like this.
I want to say it was post Married with Children that he got that, but it's insane that he's actually I'm not sure how high he is in the ranking or anything like that, but he's actually like pretty good at
get him in Cobra Kai. Let's do it.
He's there with his hand in the belt.
Yeah, he could be the new sensei.
That's because they all have their own little poses. Like Kreese always does is holding his collar. That's his pose. Terry Silver had this kind of grasping the belt weird thing, and then O'Neill's evil sensei puts his hand down the belt. It's like,
hey, we've only got one more season. Let's do it. Get him in. Come on.
It's not too late. It's not too late. Should mention though, we haven't actually brought it up yet, but just in terms of the costume that Bruce is wearing, I guess it's partially like a little tribute to Frank Miller's Year One. Because that does feature a sequence with Bruce going out, but he's not wearing he's wearing what I would always call a Benny hat. I've discovered people say beanie hat now, and I'm not too sure which
beanie.
Beanie.
Yeah, it's beanie.
A beanie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this an Irish thing?
It might just be like my family thing. No one ever thought it was supposed to be.
Yeah, because it's not BENN, it's BEAN. So.
Yeah, down here it's beanie.
I don't think I've ever seen it written. I've only ever heard it referred to as a Benny hat. And I was like,
It could just be, like maybe they say it in Ireland, and
I do think Benny. Oh god, I do think Benny Hill does wear that in a few episodes of this show. So yeah, it could
Maybe
be.
in the UK, they were just like, or the UK adjacent aisles, they're all like, we're making it. It's his official hat. Is the Benny hat? But yeah, Bruce, it has a sequence where he goes down. It's very like you can see it really echoed at the beginning of the Batman, where it's him going into the dingy night streets of Gotham, and it's raining, and he comes across Holly Robinson. She's having an altercation with her pimp, and then Bruce is there, where he's got like a kind of taxi driver-esque army jacket on, the beanie, and then he's put a scar down his face, and this is his disguise. And then he has a proper fight with them. That's his pre-Batman outfit. And of course, Selena Kyle sees all the altercation, comes down and friggin' stabs him in the leg and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so I'm guessing them going like, well, we're not putting him in putting the scar in the cheek and all that stuff, but like him.
Did Frank Miller do the Daredevil where he's wearing the all black outfit? It's kind of like this street thug thing, but a little bit ninja.
The man
Maybe
without
we're
fear.
seeing some of the DNA of that.
Yeah, I think it probably is the same. Frank Miller's just really into like people not wearing armor, I guess. Like, I like it more when you believe that they could get killed at any exact second for the most mild
He would
things.
love Aussie rules football because they just get concussions. No helmets, just get concussions. You'll be fine.
What little I've seen of that is terrifying, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say maybe Queensland football because that's where the racists are. I should have said fascist, but racist. Yes,
See, I work with an Australian guy, and he'll just, even though we're not allowed on the work computers to do, personal things, he'll just casually sit there with a stream of like the Aussie Rules matches open, and he won't care. Nobody tells him off. It's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I have to say though, and just returning to Bruce's outfit, I'm a little gutted that he didn't opt for like a grey ghost kind of rip off, because they really established in the animated series his big influence was the Grey Ghost. It was like a fedora and like a cape and stuff like that. It's like it would have been nice to see, like maybe he's like going out with the goggles and a little hat on. He's like, yeah, I'm doing a Grey Ghost thing, or maybe he's just like copyright infringement cannot. Can't go down that road, I guess.
Well, what you could have done, because I've brought up in previous weeks, and I haven't actually said it this week, so I'll say it again. I actually think this movie should be longer. I said how I wanted more romance, of all things. That could have been something you had. Like, this is step one of the Batman character. Step two could be, he's trying out different things.
Well, the thing is, though, because then you have the Grey Ghost is a character who's known to people on TV, and then Andrea Beaumont shows up and is literally basing herself on a Grey Ghost character. Like, she's a ghostly character in Grey. It was really lovely. We have a romantic scene where it turns out like they're both big fans of the Grey Ghost, and that's what they talk about on
That's
dates
why they
and
hook
stuff.
up.
Yeah. It's like, I've never known a girl. You know the Grey Ghost? She's like, yes. Have you also heard of Garfield?
I have to respectfully disagree, John. Mostly because doing work as an editor and stuff in the past. If there's something missing, then you need to fill that thing, but I don't think there's anything missing here. And that's something about sometimes it's tighter to edit down, get rid of the superfluous stuff, and have it really tight. Yeah, it's 75 minutes. It's also animation, and the longer the animation is, the more expensive it gets. So costs go up and all sorts. So it's one of those things. I think that's why the writing is really tight, and there's no fat to trim.
Oh, there absolutely isn't. So, I think it's just if you watch it as a regular movie and not an animated movie, let's be honest, it's aimed at children. I would want another 15 minutes or so of their romance, which you would think maybe in a Batman movie. No, you don't want that. I do want that, but I also get that.
Yeah, this is the one. Well, I kind of ship Catwoman and Batman, but yeah, honestly, the two of them, Andrea and Bruce, I'm very invested. I want more of this.
Yeah.
If only for like a 500 Days of Summer scene of them on the elevator, and he's listening to the Grey Ghost theme, and she starts singing along, and he's like, oh my god, Alfred, she's into the Grey Ghost.
That would be great. I want to see that more, where characters in movies bond over pop culture things, because in real life, that is probably how I would end up going out with someone. It's like we start talking about movies and things.
Yeah. I mean, it's really in that episode. That was the one. That was the day Kevin Conroy died. That was the episode I chose to watch. Was the Grey Ghost episode, because it brings in Adam West is the voice of the Grey Ghost, and it's just so beautiful because of the fact that like Bruce Timm is in that episode. He plays the villain who's like a super fan, and it's blatantly, if you ever see Bruce Timm, the character they've drawn is just him. Like, so it's really nice to see now these legends of like both Conroy.
That's amazing. The generations you have there, and that's something quite unique to the 20th and 21st century, I suppose, that we've been returning to these stories in the same medium for this amount of time. So now we're starting to have these lineages. Plural. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful love letter to Batman and just like fandom as well. So it's like there's a little bit of a sinister element because the bad guy is like a super fan who's like really obsessive, but then it also shows you like, how much these shows they meant to Bruce Wayne, how much they mean to people. The old Batman show meant to Bruce Timm and stuff like that. It's like it's a very touching episode, particularly now considering that both the heroes in it are both dead. It's really got a real like and also I remember the last time watching it, I'd never clocked in 89. We should have talked about it in 89. But outside the big like special effects studio where they are at the end is like the clown balloon from the Joker's parade. Like at the end of 89, so I was like, oh my god, that's it. We never brought that up. Oh god damn it. Well, I'm bringing it up now. 4 seasons later.
Movies with Mikey did a really good video essay on the Great Ghost episode and talks about a lot of that stuff as well. So I'd recommend that video.
Well, speaking of cars, though, one of our questions this season was always about, like, because the Phantasm is based on a sort of ghostly character, was going to ask people about their encounters with ghosts. If they had any. But then knowing now, Courtney, that you've said before we even came on air that your car is actually haunted. Can you extrapolate on that? Or is it just like, it's just literally Christine. It's just the car from Christine.
She is very much like Christine. Her name is Poison Ivy. Simon was there when we eloped, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
And
Not me.
No, not him and I. Me and my car wife. So on the way home, the gearbox just died, and so we had to push her off onto the side of the road and sit there for ages for the car to be towed to my house. And
on one of the busiest streets in Perth,
peak hour traffic. Oh my god!
Oh no!
And it's just been a ride since then. No pun intended. But I mean, she's been stolen. Then she came back. When she was stolen, the rear left tire burst. Then the thief tried to put the spare one on. And then that burst, so I don't know why. She turns her radio on by herself. She refuses to turn her headlights off sometimes. She stopped doing that now, but that was weird for a while that she wouldn't do that. Most of the time, if I just let my playlist in the car run on its own, it's 90s music. It keeps doing that. I don't normally listen to that kind of stuff, so it's lots of weird coincidences there with this car.
That's it's kind of creepy and cool at the same time.
Yeah.
I love her. She's great.
It said this coax her into like Kitten Knight Rider levels of interaction, and then you can be the new Michael Knight. Courtney.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would love that role. Seems pretty great because all you do is just drive around all day, and then occasionally you get an instruction to hang out with attractive people and then solve a crime. Seems pretty good.
That's basically all he did. He didn't really do a lot in the show, did he?
No. Kid did all the work.
Yeah. I just a friend of mine recommended a book to me recently called Night Boat to Tangier. And all I've been doing is sending memes about Nightboat from The Simpsons.
Yes! That's exactly what I thought of when you brought it up, but I didn't want to laugh at you.
No, it's like I've literally put a copy of the book next to a mirror and be like, look, it's like we're reading too. I've had a great time with it.
But I'm writing a whole memoir about my life story, but Ivy is a recurring character in that she kind of guides the plot, and I've had intensely bad luck since buying this car, and I don't mind.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
So you're the reason I got an amputated toe. God damn it!
But have you been haunted by the ghost of that toe, Simon? Like, what about yourself?
No. Next topic. Yeah, let's not turn this podcast into a therapy session.
Yeah, we're wounded soldiers.
That's really what this show is. The Batman thing is just a hook. You know, it's just to get you in.
Oh, I see. It's an intervention.
Well, if there's one person on the podcast that needs therapy, it's Batman.
Oh, yes.
That's because mental health didn't exist until 10 years ago, and so clearly...
That's true.
No, it didn't exist until the next generation. You know, Deanna Troi is the reason we have mental health care. And then, well, that's late 80s. And then early 90s, you have Batman the Animated Series. So everyone at that time was thinking about therapists. I don't know why.
Yeah. Like, literally makes an icon of one out of Harley Quinn as well. I was like, yeah, this is therapy. You could trust him.
There you go.
Yeah.
If Troy was my therapist, I'd be there every week.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, the job's so much easier for her, though, because she's just like, I can literally feel what you're feeling, so...
Yeah.
Out
Don't
with it.
think horny thoughts. Don't think horny thoughts.
Impossible.
That's why that's not a good idea with how tight those first season uniforms were.
Maybe that's all part of the trick. It's like, you know, I'm gonna play with your mind by wearing this.
Oh, she can only sense feelings though, but she can probably still sense this. Okay, no, you don't. It's not better.
Yeah. I mean, the mental health...
She doesn't have to sense them. She just has eyes.
Yeah.
That's the thing we always give out about, though, particularly when we were covering the comics. We had a whole thing about, like, you'd always see inside the Arkham cells, like, the Scarecrow would be there with his mask on or something, or they'd have, like, Two-Face would have his coin. It's like, surely for mental health purposes, giving them the thing that they're hyper-fixated on isn't healthy? Like, or is it healthy?
I like that in Arkham Asylum, the graphic novel, where they were trying to get Two-Face off his fixation on the coin, so they gave him a deck of cards.
Yeah.
But there were way too many probabilities, so he was wetting his pants because he didn't know, do I go to the toilet now? I don't know.
Well, that's the recurring plot point with the ventriloquist, is always that when he doesn't have Scarface, he's perfectly fine. He's normal, and as soon as Scarface turns up, he's a psycho. Well, he's not a psycho, but he's the gangster mobster who just kills everyone.
Yeah. I mean, that's my reading of... because I've brought it up a few times, but like the fact that they never refer to the Phantasm as the Phantasm in the movie makes me think that like the actual mask of the Phantasm is like this movie is about the final death knell of Bruce Wayne, and without Andrea and his parents, he is essentially a ghost. And so there's a big scene of him holding a mask and putting it on for the first time. Yes. And the mask of the Phantasm is Batman. So that's my reading of what they were going for there.
I think again, fence sitter. I think it is both. Like, that's the point. It's like two things can be true.
It's like he's got two faces.
Everything's going to take his face off.
So after the truck slides, and BRUCIE's surprised he's alive, the cops arrive on the scene and he flees. His job done.
This has got to be a direct reference to Raiders of the Lost Ark, though, because there's a whole scene of Indiana Jones like on the front of it. Or is it Raiders, or is it Last Crusade where he's on the front of the truck?
He's on the front of the truck in Raiders and he slides underneath.
Oh, okay.
And with a whip.
There's some similar... They're both great movies, but there's like some... Like the end truck chases are a bit like... They're a bit the same.
No! Temple of Doom. He's on front of the car and he's slowing it down, and it's the whole thing where it slows down and it's slowly and he just... almost hits the wall.
It's an indie trifecta they're going for here.
Yeah.
Well,
sticking it to their 1989 box office rival there up against Tim Burton's Batman.
All I could think of in this bit was, bizarrely, of all things, Team America. Because the police arrive, and they're going to arrest the guy. The crime's been averted, kind of. Half the stuff was lost or destroyed. So it reminded me of Team America. They blow up Paris and they're like, it's okay, everyone.
Everything
We've stopped the terrorists.
So at least, though, he does check on Skaz in the just to be like, oh, he's still alive. So that's fine. He's probably like broken all his ribs and potentially he's back. But he's fine. He's fine.
He's just having a nap. He's fine.
He's leaving.
Of course, I should say that my headcanon is that Skaz is the cover of Zaz, Mr. Zaz. And for each VCR he steals, he puts a scar on his body.
Oh, yeah.
So he's only got like 5. He's in his early days. He's like, I would have had so many more scars if that Batman had crushed, or whoever the hell that guy was crashed the damn truck.
No, there's the switch over from VCRs to DVD. He's like, God damn it, I gotta have a new gimmick.
It's like an incredibly outdated criminal now. It's like, yeah, it used to be a thing back when. It used to be cool, but like it's like getting a tattoo.
Are there any superheroes or villains like that? Are there any characters who their gimmick was based on a thing that is no longer relevant?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's got to be like a blimp-based bad guy.
The only thing I can think of isn't a superhero. The first thing that came to mind was that Transformer who's a
tape deck.
Yeah, a tape deck. Yeah, who was that?
Oh,
Soundwave.
yeah, Soundwave. Yeah.
He sounded so cool though, that guy. Like weird.
Laserbeak,
Oh, yeah.
eject.
Soundwave was the cool. Soundwave was the coolest one.
Yeah,
Most of them could talk normally,
he's
and then
so-
he was just like extra robotic for some reason.
Well, actually, if you read the comics, it explains that he was a political prisoner and he was tortured, and that's why he doesn't have a face or a voice anymore, or something like that.
That's dark.
And it happened to Shockwave. Yeah, it happened to Shockwave as well. So Soundwave and Shockwave, that's why they don't look like everyone else, and not because of the fact that they were based on a totally unrelated Japanese brand they bought before making Transformers.
I mean, it's very appropriately coincidental you would bring that up, but it's no relation whatsoever. We can do.
And I love the way.
Yeah, so now they've come up with some really gruesome backstory as to why they look the way they do. So there you go.
Oh, that is so dark. I also love the way they clearly just went, you know what? We can sell like tape players. Yeah. We can just brand them with Transformers logos. There we go. Cool.
That's gonna be definitely look at that. That's one for the listeners. Put it in the listeners' cave of like outdated villain gimmicks based on like
Yes, I'd love to know.
stuff.
It's funny because there are legacy villains just like there are legacy heroes, and I think there's been one or two where like a villain has bought a gimmick or sold a gimmick, and like another villain has like picked it up like for a short amount of time, and they've usually like when the writer comes
wait,
off and
I
goes,
know.
"I'm
Goldfinger. We don't use gold anymore.
I was not expecting that to be the answer.
No.
I watched it the other week. It's real good.
Although cash for gold's a big thing on TV. You see the adverts all the time. So maybe Goldfinger's coming back.
We haven't had a gold standard for a very long time. So he's just like Goldfinger. And then no one cares about your irradiated gold. It doesn't make a difference. It's all digital now. Who gives a shit?
I was actually thinking.
Yeah, well, Crypto Finger doesn't have the same ring.
It doesn't quite work.
It's not a ring you can put on a finger. I'll tell you that. I was actually thinking that earlier when I was making my notes because like. I was writing down a thing about like Holly Robinson, which is obviously character named after Jerry Robinson, and you had like Raymond T. O'Neill named after Denny O'Neill. It's like Bill Finger's so seminal in Batman, but like you can't really name something like the Finger Park or like it's like down by the Finger statue or something like that. There's always it's too weird a name to try to work around, so you don't see many Bill Finger tributes because like. You can't throw the word finger in there because everyone's going to be like, what? It sticks out way too much. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
That's okay. You just got to remind every single time you see some notes because they're all bills.
Hey.
Yeah. And also represents all the money that didn't get given to him by Bob Kane. Ouch. Sorry.
But
setting the tone alone again.
Although again, why isn't Bruce in his red spandex here with his giant wings and his dyed blonde hair and domino mask? That would have been a nice nod.
That would have been amazing.
Oh. They should at least have put that in the scene where he's doing the sketches.
Yeah, a little nod.
It should have been there.
But,
yeah.
I guess that's too bat-like then. They're like, no, he's not supposed to know the bat thing until, But oh well.
I do have a lot of notes for the next minute. So
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
hold off to the
We will head off then into the dark night so we can get to those. Well, no, that's ruining the illusion. We're coming back on Friday to talk about those notes. We're not recording it immediately after this one. Shush. So we will depart once more. And do join us again on Friday because we'll be back with minute 15 of Bat Minute of the Phantasm.
Next time. Holy jolting jujitsu, not yet Batman. Meanwhile, at Stately Way Manor, the Dark Knight quiets kung fu's through his anger. But an optimistic potential paramour penetrates his guileless guardian dojo, while our foolhardy fledgling be felled by a flirtatious flip blow. An arrogant absidarian has his ass handed to him on Friday, folks. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
He must have top, different